We begin on a sad note. Reports indicate that Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, who represented Anambra South in the Senate and was a prominent member of the All Progressive Congress APC, has passed away. Ubah reportedly died in London, where he had traveled for vacation. Ubah was a distinguished Nigerian politician, entrepreneur, and businessman. He was also renowned for his philanthropic work through the Ifeanyi Ubah Foundation. Details regarding his passes are still emerging. We'll provide details in our subsequent bulletins. Let's now bring you updates on the planned End Bad Governance protests in Nigeria. In anticipation of the planned nationwide End Bad Governance protests, previously anonymous organizers have now revealed their identities. The groups remain steadfast in their intention to protest on August 1st against bad governance, hardship, and hunger. At least 26 groups will participate, including Concerned Nigerians, Nigerians Against Hunger, Initiative for Change, Take It Back Movement, and Revolution Now. These groups have written to at least 20 state governments seeking permission to use state infrastructure for the protests. Other participating groups include Human Rights Co-Advocacy Group, Nigerians Against Corruption Initiative, Citizens for Change Advocacy Initiative, Timely Intervention, Active Citizens Groups, Students for Change, We Coalition, Total Intervention, Refurbish Nigeria, and Youths Against Tyranny. Meanwhile, a former governor of Kano State and NNPP leader Rabiu Kwankwaso is urging Nigerians to utilize the power of the ballot box to address the country's economic hardships instead of resorting to protests. In a statement published on his official X handle on Saturday, Kwankwaso acknowledged the widespread frustration with bad governance, but cautioned against protests, citing the potential for violence and chaos. He attributed the economic crisis to poor leadership and called for good governance, transparency, and accountability. Kwankwaso also highlighted recent political and economic issues, including interference in Kano State chieftaincy matters and the controversy surrounding the Samoa Agreement. He appealed to leaders to tackle the country's challenges and urged Nigerians to be patient and support the government in its efforts to succeed. Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has called on groups planning nationwide protests to submit their details to state commissioners of police to ensure peaceful demonstration. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Egbetokun acknowledged citizens' constitutional rights to peaceful assembly, but emphasized public safety. He urged protest groups to provide proposed routes, assembly points, expected duration, and contact details of leaders. Additionally, groups should outline measures to prevent criminal hijacking and identify potential troublemakers. The police chief says by sharing this information, the police can deploy adequate personnel and resources to ensure safety and avoid conflict with other events. Egbetokun also advised establishing clear communication with police and adhering to global best practices for peaceful protests. And still talking planned nationwide protests, the United Bank for Africa has frozen the account of human rights organization Take It Back Movement over its involvement in the upcoming End Bad Governance protest. Now, according to the group, the account was frozen on the instructions of Nigeria's Secret Police, Department of State Services. Take It Back Movement has described the action as lawless and is demanding that the account be unfrozen within 24 hours, threatening legal action against UBA if the demand is not met. The group made this known in a post on its social media handle, vowing to take a stand against the unlawful action. This development comes as Nigerians prepare for nationwide protests against bad governance. The group had earlier written to the Minister of the FCT requesting to use the Eagle Square as convergence points. Muslim religious scholars and authorities around the country have tasked citizens to shelve their plans for the proposed nationwide protest planned to commence from August the 1st. Now, this follows their meeting with President Bola Tinubu in Abuja, where they expressed Nigerians' displeasure about the hardship being faced in the country. Our correspondent, Amadine Oyi, has details.
It was a meeting with ulamas, a body of Muslim religious scholars and chief religious authorities. The scholars say the meeting followed requests from citizens to express their displeasure to government over the hardship being faced in the country.
The group of ulama representing the Islamic groups were here, and we sat with Mr. President, and alhamdulillah, we are a medium through which the less privileged in the society can send their views, their concern to the President. And alhamdulillah, we have taken up what people are saying about the hardship, the insecurity, and what have you. And alhamdulillah, the President listened to us.
He identified with Nigerians and their suffering, and he assured that it is for good. In the interim, he has promised more intervention to, ameliorate the seeming suffering of the people. And in the days to come, he promised that Nigerians will see the result of all of these sacrifices.
They say the president has called on Nigerians not to allow those that want to destroy the country have their way.
He, implored Nigerians not to allow fifth columnists to, mess with the peace of this country. And he cited the example of what is happening in Kenya right now, what has happened in Libya, what has happened in Sudan, and all the other places. And he urged Nigerians to resist the temptation of, being incited against government and, the destruction of this country.
They also urged Nigerians planning to go on a nationwide demonstration to shelve their plans.
This is not a protest. It is a protest that has the potential to lead to insurrection, the destruction of lives and properties and infrastructures. We are appealing to the people to shelve it. It is an ill wind that blows no one no good. We have conveyed their anger and frustration to government, and government has given reassurance that they are going to address it.
The council are assuring citizens that President Bola Tinubu is keen on addressing challenges facing Nigerians. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Away from that, filling stations in Abuja and neighboring states, including Niger, Nasarawa and Kogi State, shut down on Friday as oil marketers expressed concern over an upcoming nationwide protest. Retail outlets, including those operated by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited in Kubwa, and several other filling stations, ceased fuel dispensing. Similar closures were reported across Abuja, as well as parts of Niger and Nasarawa State. In Lokoja, the capital of Kogi State, filling stations are closed, leading to few queues at the fuel outlets still dispensing fuel. In Lagos, many filling stations shut down, sparking fears of a potential fuel scarcity. Most stations were not dispensing fuel, while the few that remained open were selling fuel at 800 naira per litre. Some oil marketers attributed the closures to fuel shortages, while others cited apprehensions about the planned protests. You're live with News Central TV. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. The Rivers State government has sealed off a 5-story building in Port Harcourt belonging to Dr. Samuel Wanosike, a former chairman of Ikwere local government area and ally of FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. The building, allegedly a hotel, was constructed without approved plans and exceeded the permitted 4-story height. Officials from the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development sealed the site, citing violations of building regulations. A heated argument ensued between Wanosike and the ministry officials, with Wanosike threatening to bequeath the property to Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Now, this incident is seen as part of the ongoing feud between Wike and Fubara, which has divided their loyalists.
I have written you formally to say, please,
and we have responded. We have responded. And we have responded.
You've not responded.
From the last time
You've not responded. You have not responded. You have not responded.
It is known.
You have not responded.
And let us know that this building was sealed by government.
We head to Delta State, where a section of a 9-story building has collapsed in Asaba, the state's capital, leaving one dead and several others with various degrees of injuries. Our correspondent, Austin Azu, has details.
Building collapse has become frequent across Nigeria recently, and Asaba, the Delta State capital, has recorded the most recent case. The 9th floor wall of this building, believed to be hotel, caved in with construction workers on site and work ongoing. Mohammed Abdurazak's brother, who didn't survive the accident, was among others that came to work at this building site this morning. By giving account of what transpired, Mohammed said his brother was working with cement mixer engine when the walls of the 9th floor collapsed on him and killed him on the spot.
They work for down. I'm the operator with the town concrete.
Okay.
Understand? I'm the town concrete, and the thing fall. And that time, no, in the work someplace in the and it's south of engine. Even something will fall for up. Understand? The thing come fall and die there.
Another eyewitness also gave account of what caused the collapse.
We were inside when suddenly we had a noise, a sound of something falling. So everybody rushed out. So we discovered that part of the parapet, the up there, fell off. So, and unfortunately, it fell on one of the workers there.
Some residents of the area had this to say.
Unfortunately, I live in this area, and this building has been ongoing. This is a residential area, and looking at the building, you can see the structures are poor. I've raised several concerns to urban renewal, to different ministries. 2 days ago, I was here with project monitoring to look at it. The project monitoring in the state shouldn't just be looking at government facilities alone, but they should also look at private facilities.
The commercial areas where hotels are over there. I don't know how they got approval for that. I found out that the work is a very poor job. Even as far as, if you see the building, even you don't have to be a professional to know that this work is defective. And they are rushing a project without proper reinforcement. So it's very sad. And you can see the complaint of everybody around the neighborhood.
Meanwhile, the State Commissioner for Urban Renewal came to the site to seal off the building.
There will be an integrity test, and the result will be made to the public.
The building site has been sealed already by the state government. In the days ahead, investigation will reveal if this building has government approval within this residential area. In Asaba, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Stakeholders in Plateau State believe certain factors need be given attention for Nigeria's electoral system to be better than what is currently obtainable. Electoral integrity and transparency, voter education and participation, electoral system reform, as well as electoral legal framework and institutional reform have been identified as major areas that need to be strengthened. Our correspondent, Chizoba Anyonwe, tells us more in this report.
Electoral systems are major contributors to governance in every nation. It is on this premise that the Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa gathered these stakeholders to brainstorm on issues that border on the growth and development of Nigeria's electoral system, noting the decline in the number of voters in past elections.
What is responsible for the people holding the mindset that is a problem to you? Have you ever, as an institution, taken time to investigate why are people not trusting us anymore?
Why is INEC still bent at using people that are not trained? Because They will assemble them in a hall, train them, equip them, but when it's time to go to the field to execute the very activity that they have been trained for, you find that people that never attended even one class, even for an hour, they are the same people that INEC sent to the field.
The fact that we keep having materials taken to polling units very late. The last election, I think some of the polling units we visited, till at about 1 p.m., there was nobody to attend to people, and people were already on the queue.
For these key state actors, every system of government is encouraged to join the Independent National Electoral Commission in measures to improve electoral activities in the country.
For you to be able to make informed commentary on elections, there is a need for you to understand the legal regime with which elections are conducted, which is the Electoral Act, INEC guidelines, and the Constitution. We should be able to know what is the rights, duties, responsibilities of the different stakeholders in the electoral firmament.
It is the mindset. It is not only INEC that should go about doing all these things. The stakeholders, the CSOs, the religious leaders, the political parties, the actors, the main actors, should join hands with us to educate the electorate on how to go out and get it right.
With these factors put into consideration, one would hope that subsequent elections in Nigeria will get better as a way of improving participation of the electorate. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyomi.
Election stakeholders in Nigeria have raised concerns over the lack of cohesion in political parties in the country, which has resulted in internal conflicts in many of the nation's political parties and might mar the successful governorship polls. Now, this was made known during the presentation of a pre-election security risk assessment report, which tasks the nation's electoral body to increase security ahead of the polls. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, tells us more.
With September and November set aside for the governorship polls in Edo and Ondo states, citizens have been tasked to participate in the process of electing candidates of their choice. However, as Election Observation Group, the King Park Development Initiative presents its pre-election security risks assessment report, it expressed worry about violence being witnessed ahead of the polls.
We conducted a research and then we engaged various people in that particular place, and then we've been able to deploy our monitors. In those two states, we have long-term monitors. We've deployed over 100 of them who have been tracking for the past 3 months.
We've already seen what's happening in Edo. Ondo State might be a bit quiet at this time, but you know what election is like in Nigeria, and that's why it's always good to have this pre-election assessment.
Unlike previous elections that electoral violence increases, then it shows that there is a lot of issues in the state around cultism. There are a lot of issues in the state around sporadic gunshot that we can't even lay claim to say this is where it is coming from, killings of even rivalry, court clash and all of those.
Stakeholders present urged election managers to make use of the report to ensure that the polls are violence-free.
Beyond the data, the information is getting to the right quarters and the right institutions to ensure that we are putting through peace-building mechanisms, that we are working to mitigate violence, but also ensuring that there is accountability for the people who get engaged in electoral violence.
The chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters also took the opportunity to call for a partnership that will ensure violence-free elections.
We all have a role to play, and all of us, I can assure you that we, on our parts, are ready to play our own role there.
According to experts here, the findings of the report will provide valuable input for stakeholders involved in the management of elections in the forthcoming polls to make effective planning and provide mitigation strategies to avert violence. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has confirmed its ability to oversee local government elections across the country. contingent upon receiving sufficient funding and resources. Now, this assurance comes in the wake of a recent Supreme Court ruling that secures financial autonomy for local government. In response, there is growing support for the solution of state independent electoral commissions, with many in favor of INEC solely managing polls at the local levels. Our correspondent, Igbalani Yomoni, throws more light.
In a ruling described as significant judicial intervention, the Supreme Court's decision on the local government autonomy case, issued on July 11, 2024, has sparked ongoing debates.
Call it local government emancipation judgment, because it has really emancipated the local government from, the shackles of the past.
The Supreme Court has spoken, and we have no option than to abide by the Supreme Court ruling.
Some experts argue that this ruling undermines state governments while bolstering the central government. In contrast, governors have welcomed the decision for its clarity and direction.
Compliance is a given, and our attorney generals have applied for the enrollment order, which we'll study carefully. But by and large, governors are happy with the devolution of power in respect to local government autonomy. It relieves a burden on governors.
There are growing concerns about granting the Independent National Electoral Commission the authority to oversee all local elections, as opposed to delegating this responsibility to state commissions. Questions remain regarding INEC's capacity to handle this expanded role.
So it is up to the National Assembly to amend the law to transfer that responsibility to INEC. If that is done, the question is, can INEC cope? Because we have also been saying that we should be unbundled. That is true, but we have never said that we should be unbundled beyond the conduct of electoral activities.
INEC has highlighted the necessity for increased funding to manage off-cycle elections in Edo and Ondo State, as well as any potential local elections.
We, as a commission, cannot submit an appropriation bill to the National Assembly. What we do is to approach the executive, and we have approached the executive. Approval has been given, and we have been assured any moment from now, money will be released for the election activities in Edo, Ondo, as well as the 7 outstanding by-elections.
Although local governments have gained increased autonomy, the process of electing ethical and competent leaders remains contentious. Minister of Finance Wale Edun has also noted that the direct transfer of local funds from the Federation account may encounter practical impediments. In Lagos, for News Central, Igbalani Omani.
And now to health matters. The Nigerian government has secured $2.2 billion in external financing for Nigeria Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative. President Adebola Tinubu approved the creation of the sector-wide Coordinating Office Program Management Unit, which will be housed in the office of the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare. According to a statement from Tinubu's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajurin Golale, this initiative aims to ensure efficient, transparent and accountable management of the external grants. The SCOPMU will report to a steering committee chaired by the Minister of Health, including other key ministers and development partners. The unit will act as the Secretariat and Delivery Unit for NHSRII, headed by a national coordinator. Its functions include program management, monitoring, evaluation, engagement and supervision of independent verification agents, and fiduciary management. Let's now tell you that Nigerians in South Africa say they are living in fear of police brutality and are calling on the Nigerian government to intervene as police brutality and killings of Nigerians in South Africa has intensified over the years. They also urge the South African police to desist from intimidation high-handedness and unprovoked harassment of Nigerians in the country. This situation has become more rowdy following one Onyedikanyi Iroka, who was beaten to death, allegedly by police. Meanwhile, the 4 Boksburg North police officers accused of assaulting and torturing Iroka appeared in Boksburg Magistrate Court on Tuesday, facing charges of assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm and defeating the ends of justice. Bongani Sisiba reports.
This is Onyedikanyi Iroka, a 44-year-old Nigerian battling for his life. He was severely beaten, tortured and left for dead, allegedly by South African police in 2003. Onyedikanyi is one of the fortunate ones. He escaped the savage onslaught, but Kalistas Ikwechuku, Izowanat, Prince Ebuka, and countless others were not so lucky. Today, Onyedikanyi is back in court to face his attackers. Determined to see justice served, he narrated his almost to death ordeal. He says he's living in fear as he always gets threats.
So now they called the cell guard to open the doors. They want to lock me up. So the cell guard watched me and see that there was a pool of blood everywhere. You see, now he said, God forbid, he couldn't lock me up. He told them to call the ambulance and take me to the hospital before I could be locked up. So now they are confused. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to take me. They don't know how to put me inside. They don't know what to do. So they keep making, some meetings and all that. I don't know what they are saying. Now, after some time, now they take me to the hospital. So I don't know what happened. I woke up after 9 days because I was in coma. I was in another side of the world.
Like his fellow countrymen in South Africa, they say they are living in fear of police brutality and are tired of being targeted and treated unfairly.
It's not the first person, it's not the second person. It's been happening. Even in Jamestown, where I stay, more than 4 people are dead by gun.
Sometimes police intimidation and brutality, beating up of Nigerians, and all whatnot. That is my experience so far.
Here in Boksburg North, I met with Prince Chika, a Nigerian national living in South Africa, who is also a victim of police brutality.
I've been arrested 5 times or 4 times for illegal immigrant. The same person charging me for the same offense. I even went to High Court, get some documents from the High Court, and still come back, and they still put me inside. There was a time, the last one that happened, I was driving with my 9-year-old and my 6-year-old sons, and they took us to the police station. They kept my sons on the code from 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. in the afternoon to like 1 a.m. at night, because I stay with my boys and nobody was around to pick them up. I tried to convince the lady that, listen, I've been charged with this and I went to court, and this is my documents from the High Court that I've been to, and this is even the immigration lawyer tried to talk to her, but they didn't want to listen. They just put me inside, and I stayed there for 7 days.
But despite efforts by individuals like Prince to speak out against police brutality, Nigerians here say authorities and the Nigerian government representatives in South Africa must do more.
Calling Nigerian government to come and help us, to hear our voice.
The government to look into it and come to our aid to help us to find justice against us Nigerians.
Because, most times when you reach out to Nigerian consulate, they just take it as water under the bridge. They don't come out. So it discourages a lot of people. But I think recently, Nigerian consulate has been trying. They've been trying very much, especially when it comes to this case of attempted murder of this Okoro guy. They came out. We were even surprised.
Attempts by News Central to speak to Nigerian consulate representatives who were present in court was fruitless, as they refused to comment on the issue. Years now, similar incidents have been reported involving police violence. President General of Nigerian Citizens Association in South Africa, Mr. Frank Onyekulu, is calling for investigations and justice in the broader issue of police abuse in South Africa.
2 or 3 occasions I've engaged with the South African police to understand why and how such deaths occurred within their premises or in their hands. I can be very precise about 3 particular deaths happened while our citizen is in the hands of the police.
Police brutality against Nigerians in South Africa has become a big concern, and Nigerians in this community are calling on their government to come and help them. From Boxback, for News Central, Wangani Siziba.
A functional Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy must focus on training and educating maritime workers, including seafarers, and ensure their proper remuneration, welfare, health and safety. This will boost morale and job performance. Adequate training and certification will address Nigeria's maritime workforce needs and enable the export of maritime skills globally. Stakeholders recommend establishing an overseas maritime employees department within the ministry to handle training, certification, and facilitate manpower experts similar to the Philippines. This initiative will create jobs for Nigerian youth, generate foreign exchange, and enhance Nigeria's standing among maritime nations.
It's just too unfortunate in the sense that the government too are not looking into that certifications properly by way of discouraging seafarers. We have universities here accredited by government. We have Oron, where all the seafarers attended training program in that place. By the time they graduated, the certificate is not recognized. It is the duty of NIMASA, who have spent what we call millions of dollars to make sure that that school, that Oron school, is being given a facelift. They spend so much. I thank them for doing that. But sometimes there's settlement of a tribal settlement going on in that place too.
Thank you for staying with us. Outside Nigeria, in Niger's capital Niamey, thousands gathered to commemorate the first anniversary of the military coup that brought the current junta to power. Supporters chanted the name of the junta leader, Abdurrahman Giani. The event was heavily secured, featuring armored vehicles and traditional drumming. Prime Minister Ali Mohamed Lamine Zain hailed the turnout as unprecedented. Since seizing power, the junta has expelled French forces in preparing for the departure of U.S. troops and has formed alliances with neighboring military-led countries. The event prominently displayed flags of new allies, Turkey, Iran and Russia. Meanwhile, ousted President Mohamed Bazoum remains under detention.
Le leadership de toutes les composantes de notre armée sous la conduite du général Abdurrahman Chani.
We head to South Africa, where the police service in Mpumalanga, in collaboration with the Prove Joint Structure, Department of Home Affairs and Police Intelligence, uncovered a suspected illegal military training base in White River. Authorities apprehended 95 foreign nationals, all Libyan, in connection with the discovery. Initially designated as a training site, the location appears to have been converted into an unauthorized military base. The detained individuals are currently being questioned by authorities. And to unpack this, we are joined by Zama Nchona, ATM National Spokesperson. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon to you and the viewers.
All right. Talk to me about what the potential implications are of discovering a suspected military training base on South African soil, particularly given the involvement of foreign nationals.
Thank you so much. As you would know, South Africa is truly, in fact, has been grey-listed. And South Africa has been grey-listed because of illicit activities that are happening on this country. One of those include the illicit flows and money laundering that you find. And one of those include 57,000 SIM cards that are not registered that are muscling out 6.3 billion rand from the country to destinations like Kenya, Nigeria, Somalia, Bangladesh, to mention but a few. And this has caused the international community to grey list us. But not only that, South Africa has a number of undocumented immigrants that goes beyond 5 million in the country, and that is also a challenge that is faced by the country. The country in recent times has been experiencing kidnapping that has gone. That when you look at the third quarter of 2023, you see that we've had 4,577 kidnappings and human trafficking challenges that we find in the country, which are a grave concern. Now, to discover that after being grey-listed by the global world or the village, a global village, we are now having 95 Libyan officials who are alleged to be training in this country. So now this is a grave concern, because already we are seen as people who are financing terrorist groups, but now we are harboring or producing terrorist groups allegedly. So this is of big concern, great concern, because truly now it seems like all the security measures of this country are truly down, and we're not able to deal with the influx and the challenges that we find because of this.
Mr. Nchona, I mean, no, quite interesting point you raised there. Talking about Libyans being involved in these, activity. Now, given the number of Libyans, Libyan nationals involved, you talked about terrorist groups. What possible connections could these training bays have on the ongoing conflicts in Libya?
Thank you so much. It is going to be, well, in fact, it is what we're calling for as the African Transformation Movement, that we actually find the linkages between this particular group that we have found in our shores, and our government has been so incompetent in detecting with the groups that are in Libya. It's going to be very important for them to uncover why they are here and why are they being trained as in an illegal military base, and for what purpose are they here in this particular country. So all of those are going to be subjects of investigation, because we're very clear on this matter. This matter is very serious. We are currently in an environment that is not secure for the people of this country. So to find people just being military trained on our shores, we don't know whether they are military trained to go back to Libya or being military trained to take care of South Africa. So big questions must be asked about how to link to the military groups in Libya.
That's a fine place to leave it. Thank you so much for your perspective on the news. Zama Nchona, ATM National Spokesperson. Many thanks indeed.
Thank you to you and the viewers.
Top diplomats of China and the United States meet for talks in the Laos capital, Vientiane, amid tensions in the South China Sea and Washington's worries about ties between Moscow and Beijing. The meeting between Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken takes place on the sidelines of a Foreign Ministers' Summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Tension between the U.S. and China has persisted in recent months, even as President Joe Biden's administration has sought to stabilize rocky relations between the two global rivals. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as well as China's increasingly assertive moves in the South China Sea and threats towards Taiwan, have in recent years soured the Washington-Beijing relationship. In sports, Yu Tinhang and Li Haosheng of China secured the first medal of Paris Olympics by winning 10-meter air rifle mixed team event, making China the first nation to top the podium in Paris. The Chinese pair triumphed over South Korea's Kim Hyun and Park Ha-yeon with a score of 16-12. Hang and Sheng, the reigning world champions, led the qualification with a score of 632.2, while South Korea followed with 631.4. Kazakhstan's Alexandra and Islam Satpayev won the first medal of the Games, marking the country's first shooting medal since 1996. Indian teams Ramita Jinal and Sadep Singh did not advance to the medal rounds. And that's all on the news. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Prominent Nigerian Senator Ifeanyi Ubah reportedly dies in London. Former Governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, urged Nigerians to tackle hardship through ballot, not protest. Thousands gathered in Niger to commemorate first anniversary of military coup. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channels 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.